Hello my fellow gerbil lovers and welcome back to the Gerbil Vine. Thank you so much for being here today, for clicking on this video, and for helping the gerbils and I spread around good care information here on YouTube. So as you can see from the title of the video, today's video topic is going to be my gerbil care mistakes part 2. I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning and it was too much information to fit in one video. I think the video would have worked out to being like 17 minutes long or something, which is just a crazy long video, so I instead decided to split it up into 2 parts, which is why I am in the same outfit as last time with the same background. If you didn't see part 1, I will link that up above for you to go and check out. It doesn't really matter what order you watch them in. Again, I am recording this video at work, just like the first part of this video, on my break, so that's why the background looks a little bit different, and I am recording the audio and video off of my laptop, so I apologize for not the greatest quality. My phone definitely does a lot better recording than my computer does. So without waiting any longer, let's jump into today's video and start discussing my gerbil care mistakes part 2. Another thing that I did that was a big mistake on my part was that when the gerbils were in their 20-gallon enclosure, I did a full clean out and I ended up dumping all of their old bedding, not realizing that keeping their old bedding, at least some of it, is very important for gerbils when you clean their tank. It's overall a really stressful time for them if they have like a new scent-free environment, so it's definitely best to save some of their old bedding, which is something that I did not know the first time I did a tank clean. Now, I am extremely fortunate that there were no falling out or issue between my gerbils, because gerbils are silly little creatures and sometimes they won't be able to recognize their tank mate or like their brother or their sister or whatever when you put them back into a clean environment. They're really strange that way. So I was very fortunate that there was no sort of issues that came up with that, but it's definitely not something I recommend doing, and it's definitely something that I acknowledge was a big mistake. Now, the mistake that I made with my gerbils, which is something that I want to discuss with you all today, is going to be their food choices. Not that this was so much a mistake, but I just didn't put that much effort or research into what gerbils actually need nutritionally at that time. So what the gerbils started out with was the All Living Things PetSmart brand of gerbil food, which contained a lot of corn, a lot of sunflower seeds, and a bunch of other ingredients that were essentially filler food that would make them feel full but not really give them all of the nutrients and vitamins that they needed. There were also some not so great treats that I gave to my gerbils, which I am completely embarrassed about at this point in time. This included sweetened banana chips and blueberries, as well as those Living World treat sticks that were sweetened with honey and had a bunch of corn and fruit on them. Obviously, I know much better now, and my gerbils were quickly upgraded from All Living Things brand of food to another brand of food, which is also not that great, not gonna lie. The other one I switched them to, they had them on that for like a month, and that was the Brown's Tropical Carnival Hamster and Gerbil Diet. Now, this food is actually recommended on a couple gerbil nutrition websites that I've been to, and I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, it contains a lot of dried fruit, a lot of seeds, a lot of artificially dyed pieces. Like, why do gerbils need red, blue, and green grains? I don't know. They don't exist. We don't need to color them. It's fine. Like, the gerbils aren't gonna go for them more because they're colored. But anyway, there was like a lot of fruit in that bag. There was like random pretzel pieces. I think there might have even been some dried pasta pieces in there. Overall, it was a very unique, weird, and strange mix, and not something that I wanted to continue feeding to the gerbils. I also made the mistake of buying them Brown's Tropical Carnival Honey Hoops, I believe they're called, which are essentially a really sugary snack that is also artificially dyed, and it's not going to be good for your gerbils, so avoid those. Even back then, though, I can remember going through all the food and picking out all of the alfalfa pieces and all of the like crap bits of food that they didn't really need. So obviously now my knowledge on the subject is much better. I do make my own homemade gerbil food. I'll link that video up above as well, and their snacks are essentially limited to healthy seeds and like dried vegetables. Now, the last mistake that I made when starting out with my gerbils was the type of sand that I used. Now, I knew that calcium sand was something that you wanted to avoid with gerbils because basic research did tell me that. I knew that they were sensitive to upper respiratory issues, so any sort of super dusty sand wasn't going to be an ideal option for them. Now, I initially started out using the KT Chinchilla bathing sand. Is that what it's called? I'll put the picture up here anyways. But that was a huge mistake because it was super fine, super powdery. It would leave like dust on the gerbils. Their whole tank wall, like by where their sand bath would be, be coated in like a white powdery film. So that was something that was absolutely horrible for them. And I did use that sand for like, I want to say 3 months before I finally found like Reptisand. So that is something that was horrible for them. I'm very fortunate that the gerbils didn't develop any sort of issue in that time because, like I said, they are very sensitive and they are prone to upper respiratory issues. So any sort of excessive dust and debris would only irritate their sinuses and all of that stuff. So I'm very fortunate that they didn't get sick from using that, but that's definitely a big mistake that I made, and I really hate that companies, sorry, mini rant here, I really hate that companies advertise things for small pets and they choose to put profit over the overall health of the animals. I feel like if companies made specific safe products that were instead not labeled as universal but labeled as specific to those certain animals, then I think that that would be much better, because a lot of products say that they're safe to use with multiple small pets. For example, the chinchilla sand says it's safe for chinchillas, gerbils, hamsters, mice, all that kind of stuff. It's not in fact safe for hamsters or gerbils to use because it is so overtly dusty. So that concludes our series on my gerbil care mistakes. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. I found it to be helpful to share this type of content, seeing as it's not care that I'm currently advocating for or exercising with my gerbils. My gerbils live a great life in their 40-gallon tank plus topper, and everything that I do with them now is just so much better than when I initially started out in the beginning. Again, make sure that you are doing proper research on gerbils. I definitely do not recommend impulse buying pets. As you can see, all of the mistakes that I currently acknowledge that I made as a result of impulse buying my pets. Even though I felt like I had known I was going to get gerbils for a couple weeks, so I had set everything up in advance, it still wasn't the right information that I came across. It's not like I just went out to the pet store that day, saw gerbils, and then just went and bought everything for them. It took me a couple of weeks from researching gerbils, accumulating all of their stuff, contacting different breeders, etc., etc. Just because gerbils are small animals doesn't mean that they're disposable or they're just animals that you should just get and just put them in a small cage and not worry about what might be right for the pet. So as always, thank you all so much for watching our videos. If you have any video suggestions or topics you want us to discuss, feel free to drop those down below in the comment section, and we'll make sure to make a note of it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.